In the winter of 1970, Crazy Horse, better known as the backing band for Neil Young, were preparing to release their first standalone album. Guitarist and songwriter Danny Whitten was in the depths of the heroin addiction that would ultimately take his life, but he broke through his dope-sick haze for just long enough to sit with bandmate Niels Lofgren and record one of the greatest ballads ever written. Forced out of the group shortly afterwards, Whitten would never get to perform his song live with Crazy Horse, and its inclusion on their debut album was met with little fanfare. But 3 years later, Rod Stewart was recording in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, and on the lookout for new material when producer Tom Dowd brought him Whitten's heartbroken lyrics. Included on the album Atlantic Crossing and released as a single in 1977, the track flew to number 1 in the UK singles chart. And in 1988, the song took on a third life when Hull duo Everything But the Girl wanted a cover song that would stick it to their record label, but which subsequently backfired as vocalist Tracy Thorn bemoaned the new, older listeners that its surprise success had attracted. And what is it that Danny, Rod, Tracy, and the Oh No 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 podcast have in common? I don't want to talk about it. On Saturday, the Rovers lost a third Fife derby on the spin, going down 3-0 to Dunfermline at East End Park. And unfortunately, we are going to have to cover it all this evening. I am Duncan Cameron, and roped in to help me tonight, we've got Blair Hopcroft, first of all. Blair, I've been listening to a lot of Neil Young and Crazy Horse today. When it comes to this Rovers side, is it a case of I believe in you, or are they helpless?
You've just, I mean, I'm going to set my stall out early. Helpless. Helpless is the right answer.
Yeah, helpless.
Yeah, it's brutal.
We've also got Alan Douglas Munn. Alan, how did you feel when we were on the losing end?
They didn't write a song called My God, We Are Pissed, did they? Because that's pretty much how it feels just now. Yeah, it's not a great time to be a Rovers fan, really. Which is mad with the cup final coming up.
Neil Young's kind of weird 80s electronic stuff could easily have a track called Oh My God, We're Pish on it. And 4 people would have heard it. And we've also tonight, we've got Carol Allison Smith as well. Carol, round and round, it won't be long. Is that how this relegation battle feels to you?
There's no relegation battle. Think positivity. Okay, that is as positive as I can bring to the table.
See how long that lasts, Carol.
Yep, I'm expecting you all to drag me down.
The influence of hard drugs rears its ugly head for the second time already in the episode. Right.
There's not enough drugs in the world to make it to this painful.
Deary me. It's difficult to know where to begin with this. It's also, I'll get very clear early doors. I don't think I'm going to subject everybody to the usual kind of play-by-play sort of walkthrough that we'd do with an episode like this. I don't know, how much there is to be gained by, we had a shot and like that might have been a booking. So I think we'll maybe take a couple of the key points and the rest of it will be kind of free-form whinging. I think, yeah, probably. But let's start in traditional fashion and see where it takes us. So 3 changes for the Rovers from the side who'd lost at Ross County previously. We already knew Scott Brown was going to be missing with a calf injury, but Ross Matthews also came out the midfield. J. Rowe went in at right back, Jordan Doherty moved into the middle alongside Paul Incio, and Josh Mullen took a jersey out on the right wing with Jack Hamilton coming in to replace Innes Cameron. Alan, start with you. It has been a regular grumble from some of us on this podcast that, I say some of us, I mean me, Scott Brown and Ross Matthews are too similar, shouldn't be played together. Were you surprised to see Doug Emery go from both to neither?
Yes. I mean, it's one of those things that normally if you look and you see Scott Brown's out, you think, well, we've got Ross Matthews. He can play the same role. You know, you're not necessarily losing anything from the midfield. He can just kind of slot in there. So yeah, it was a surprise. It would have been nice if it was a surprise because we'd made some changes that were, you know, obviously attacking changes. Clearly, we didn't by putting Jordan Doherty in there. But yeah, it was a strange one. I didn't see it coming. You just automatically assumed Matthews would be starting. Brown wasn't there. It was a bit strange.
And I see, I think we'll jump a bit more than we would normally do. Blair, do you think that had a bearing on the game? The lack of a Doug Emery famously referred to them as dogs in midfield. Were we dogless?
Rudderless, dogless, planless,
Helpless?
yeah. Honestly, like the whole the main issue I have with it is Doherty in the midfield. Like, so why do you do it? So you look at the team lineup and he's got Doherty in the midfield and you go, right, so we're going to try and win the midfield back. We're going to try and play through the midfield. Didn't he do it? Didn't he even try to do it? At any point in the game did we actually try and play through Doherty? So what we did is we took arguably one of our best defenders out of defence into midfield and didn't he play through the midfield? And the only reason he's there that anybody can fathom, maybe it's not, maybe we're wrong, but the only reason I can fathom that you put him in there is because he's better with the ball than Matthews is.
Yeah.
Seems to be the logical kind of the rationale for it. But we never tried to play through the midfield at all. We just missed it out entirely. So no, I was deeply unhappy at 11 o'clock in the morning when I headed to the pub. I was deeply unhappy when I got on the bus at about 1:45, and I was fucking miserable by the time the team line came out. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. None of it makes sense.
Nah, I think you're right in the sense that Jordan Doherty, to me, presumably keeps going into the midfield because he is the closest thing we've got to like a Sean Byrne surrogate, effectively. But either he's not doing it or he can't do it. Could be one of those.
Yeah.
But it feels like, as you say, we're not even really asking him about it.
I'm not asking him about it.
Like, we don't give him the ball. And maybe it's because he's not got the capability to do it. Honestly, I don't know. Like,
if that's the case, then it
It's
can't
like
be.
he's been the only one that's been told that's what he's doing, and everyone else has kind of went, "Oh, he's there. Are we meant to pass to him? No, let's not bother."
Baffling.
It's like it's a surprise to everybody else he's there.
It wasn't. I mean,
It
it's just
not
like-
make sense.
in fairness, though, it wasn't just that for me. The starting lineup.
oh, right, not even close to just that.
I mean, so you put Doherty in, you bring in Mullen, so you're thinking, right, we're going to play with width. Oh no. We're going to go as narrow as we can for the entire game. Let's just go really narrow with a man who can cross a ball. Let's just play him inside as narrow as we can, as often as we can. And then Jack Hamilton up front again when Ennis Cameron. I mean, we weren't great in Dingwall. We really weren't great in Dingwall. But I mean, Ennis Cameron still did more in that game up at Dingwall, arguably, than what has been happening for us up front for months. He got, I mean, from what little he got, he gets the ball down, he gets a shot away, he harries defenders. I don't know, like, I didn't understand it. I didn't understand any of it.
That was the one that really puzzled me more than anything. You know, sometimes it's like you see a change has been made, and you just go, what? And then later on, someone goes, he pulled up in training. He had like an ankle strain, and you go, right, okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Like, I've got no idea if that happened or not, but it's the explanation I would need almost.
Totally.
Because, listen, Jack Hamilton doesn't need us batting him a game. Like, we did plenty of that, and then he scored a hat-trick, and we laid off him for about 10 days. But the failings that we saw from Jack Hamilton, or the criticisms that we had, kind of all still apply, really. And I think a lot of the kind of worst of them, well, the worst of them was he wasn't scoring any goals. Like, you can still apply that to Innes Cameron.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like a 20-goal a season striker. He doesn't look like a deadly marksman.
No.
But from what we have seen of him, he moves with a little bit more purpose. What a low bar that is, by the way. But, like,
He's
he's
wheels on his wardrobe.
yeah, exactly. Aye. Fridge freezer that's been put on one of those dollies, so
Yeah,
you can
that's it.
bring it across. But he does. He's got slightly more movement to him. He looks like he's got slightly more ability to either bring the ball down or move the ball on. There's not a huge gap in it.
No.
He's not twice the player Jack Hamilton is. But I was surprised if you'd asked me to run up a list of players who could have been dropped for their opposite number, or their closest competitor, he wouldn't have been near the top of my list, put it that way. And I did think we improved when he came on as well.
Yeah, same.
Which bolsters that point. Let's stick on picking on people for a minute. Before we actually really get into the game. Josh Mullen, Carol. I think it's safe to say we are all big fans of Josh Mullen. Also safe to say that he did not necessarily seize his chance on Saturday.
Yeah, did anybody seize their chance on Saturday, I suppose? Everyone knows I'm a bit of a sort of amateur interested in the body language, but nobody seemed to be up for it on Saturday. Everybody's heads went down completely at the first goal. Once we lost that goal, there was no chance of us getting back. But yeah, with Mullen, it just seemed no energy. It's like, take some energy gels, whatever you need, come on. Firework up the bum, move. Something.
Alan, what do you... Fine, stop it. What do you make of that Josh Mullen performance?
You put him in there because he works hard and he can swing in a decent cross. Where was that? where, and part of it comes to you need to get the ball. You need to play him wide if you're going to get crossing in, and you need to get the ball to him in a position where he's in a position to cross, and you need to have folk in the box to make it worth his while crossing. So there's a lot more to it than just Josh Mullen didn't do what he's capable of doing. There's many failures in the way that team played on Saturday and has been playing for, let's face it, most of the season. And it started off, it looked early in the season like the problem was with the strikers. It became more apparent as the season's gone on that the problem is about creating chances. But also the apathy seems to be kind of infecting the defence now as well, in terms of, like, it's been an issue all season that when we concede one, we look like we might concede more. But, it could have been a lot worse on Saturday. There was the lack of, I don't even know what it is that was missing on Saturday, but it just seemed to infect the whole team.
Yeah.
This is it. So I think there are some tactical failings, right? Or one in particular I want to talk about in relation to the first goal, which, Blair, you've already touched on. But, like, it goes beyond that. So I think that there are someone I want to talk about a fair bit, actually, is the manager and where the kind of line is between culpability and mitigation and what predates him, and we'll have a fair bit of a chat around that. But I do think it's like I don't think anybody comes out of it well.
No.
Like, as I say, I think there are tactical failings. I think we set up wrongly, first and foremost. But even at that, like, Josh Mullen wasn't playing 5-yard passes. And I don't know what you put that down to, because it's like, that's not technical ability. We know he's got technical ability to play a 5-yard pass. So is that like, but even if you actually, Josh Mullen, I think, is almost like the last person I would think to accuse this of. But even if you were phoning it in, right? Even if you were just half-arsed, like, not bothered. I don't like this manager. I don't like my teammates. I'm in the half. You could still play a 5-yard pass. Like, it feels somehow more complicated than that. Like, I don't understand, because it wasn't just Josh Mullen either. Like, that first half, we couldn't get anything going at all. And it's just, I mean, listen, if anybody has any theories, please jump in, because I'm at a loss. Like,
yeah, none. I mean, I'm a big fan of Josh Mullen. I have been for a long time. He was absolutely rotten on Saturday, and it's got to be said, he was not alone. Vaughan barely touched the ball. Didn't kind of really get involved at all in anything. Easton looks miles off it at the moment. Don't know what that's all about. And it's just, it's hard, but I do feel like we've got into this weird place as a fan base where it's like absolute extremes. So you're either like, Dougie Imrie deserves no blame whatsoever. It's not his squad. It's all the board. It's all the players. It's nothing to do with Dougie Imrie. And then there's this weird swing where other folk are like, Imrie out, he's the wrong man, should never have been appointed, can he get a tune out of them? And I'm like, there's this whole world in between where there's bits of blame all over the place. But we can't shy away from the fact that, look, we all know this squad needs overhauled. We've been talking about it for a long enough time to know that that's the case. But Imrie got that wrong. Wildly wrong on Saturday. That a round of applause for the Doug there, Alan?
Pretty much, yeah. He definitely agrees.
He just got it so wrong. He said that I don't even, and it's that thing, I don't even know how he set up. That's the bit I can't get my head around. It's like you're saying, if a player comes out and you're going, how? And then it turns out they've hurt their ankle or something. I'd love somebody to be able to explain to me in idiot-proof terms what the plan was. Because I couldn't see any shape that made sense for the personnel. Like, if you're going to change the shape, change the personnel with it, fair enough. He did that. The Ross County game at home, where he played that magic box thing, and it was great, and it absolutely worked, and it was to a T, but he picked the personnel for that shape. The personnel, to me, screamed width, and the shape, didn't he? I didn't. Yeah.
So this is exactly it, and this is my problem. And I'm saying I think he got it tactically wrong. This is exactly it. It's exactly what you said there. It's all about the width, because Dunfermline are really good at it.
Yeah.
So they play a back three, they play with their wing backs. Robbie Fraser on the left-hand side in particular, a Dunfermline fan might be able to tell you better. I think he's been one of their best players this season. I think he's been one of the best players in the league this season. He's really, really good. Really good against Aberdeen. He's a proper wing back. One of these wing backs who, they're actually fairly rare, that you see when you watch him, you think, if he's asked to actually play like full back, you're not getting the most out of him.
Yeah, totally.
Most of the time, like when we do wing backs, it's a full back and you're asking him to play forward and you're like, oh, he's actually quite good at that as well. Like, Robbie Fraser is an out and out wing back, and he's great at it because he can be anywhere on that left-hand side and he's dangerous. And when you've got the ball, he's also still a defender
Yeah.
in his own head, first and foremost. So he's really, really good. And he's on that touchline the entire time. And as soon as they get the ball, he's right down the line until like his space starts to run out, because he always wants to be in space. He's not going to go and put himself up with a marker. So he's really clever, really, really good player. And that's how they get forward. We talk endlessly. So I talk endlessly about what's the plan to progress the ball. Are we passing the ball? Are we running the ball? What's happening? Generally, Darrell O'Connor's kicking it really long. That's how they progress the ball. They play it to Robbie Fraser, and he is either running up the left-hand side or they're playing it into him while he's on the run. And they've got the same on the right-hand side as well. That's their, to my mind, that's their biggest weapon. That's their sort of number one attacking outlet. And it's really supplemented well, but they've got really good actual attackers. Callum Morrison's really good, Chris Kane's really good, Andrew Todd's really good, right? But the supply line is all about the wing-backs.
Yeah.
So that's your starting point. That's problem number one. Right, coming up against a team this week, forget the fact it's a derby. Doesn't matter to this point in the slightest. Coming up against a team this week, really good, really aggressive, wide wing-backs. What are we going to do about it? We're just going to play a 4-2-3-1 that's really narrow. Right, cool. You're going to have to explain that to me, because like the first 10 minutes happened multiple times where they're not having to work for it at all, because we are trying to really squeeze the middle of the park. We've not actually got anybody who's really the technical ability to do it, you know, from the kind of base in the midfield. And any time that ball pops up, either because it's from a long ball or we get dispossessed in the midfield, somebody, generally Charlie Gilmore, but somebody in the Dunfermline midfield goes, oh, what am I? Oh, that's my option there. There's the boy that I want to give the ball to has got all the space in the world, not only currently, but also to run into. Class. Right, I'm just going to pass that ball into him. And we've got Josh Mullen, 20 yards infield, and 40 yards behind them, we've got Jay Rowe, 20 yards infield. And the two of them are going, what are we doing about this guy? This guy is really good, who's we should know about, and they don't have a plan. And it's no more evident than it is in the first goal, where the ball breaks down in the midfield. Now, the ball breaks down in the midfield, and Jack Hamilton has come herring back to try and get involved. Every Rovers player at the start of this move is deeper than 10 yards inside our half. So you've got 11 Wraith Rovers players in, 40 yards of space, 50 yards of space maybe? You think, well, the one thing there's not going to be is a lot of room for Dunfermline players, because all the Wraith Rovers players are here. Charlie Gilmore comes away with the ball, looks to his left, and there's Robbie Fraser, who's got the whole of the cemetery and the left flank of East End Park to himself. And he, again, doesn't think about it. There's no Robbie Fraser going, oh, I could do this, could do that. He's like, well, I'm just going to run until somebody stops me. So he sets off, clean air. Josh Mullen is there, but again, you can tell he's kind of going, well, I'm the winger. I do have a fullback. There's other boys around here, and you can see him kind of pointing.
He's looking for either Rowe or Doherty to come in and kind of...
Yeah. And
but you're there.
Doherty's,
just go him.
Exactly. Doherty stepped up to Gilmore eventually. So he's almost out of it. And then you can see Jay Rowe is aware of the fact that Callum Morrison is also in space. But then he decides that what he needs to do more than anything else is stop the direct run And effectively, and this is one of these things that looks worse because of what happens next, but he effectively just runs out the way, just flees the scene because he's tracking where Fraser might go. And Robbie Fraser just cuts the ball to Callum Morrison, who inexplicably is also in loads of space. All of our players are back, and we've managed to let both of their players have all the space in the world and the football. And of course, he takes a decent touch and puts it in the goal. And this is the thing for me. I was talking to Scott about this yesterday. That's the kind of goal you concede when you're down to 10 men, you're already 4-0 down, and there's 2 minutes to go. And you're scunnered, and you're tired, and you've been running all day, and the other team is better than you. And we had all our players on the park, and we were, 50 minutes into the game? I don't know. It's such an abysmal goal to concede. And do get me says, players aren't doing their jobs. Maybe not, but I also don't think they've been given the right jobs to do.
That's hard to argue.
I think the point, you make a really valid point there, that at least if you're getting the guy out wide all the space in the world, that means you've got plenty of bodies in the middle. So at least you're marking everyone in there. But you're not. And then he puts a shot in, and Darragh, I don't even know what Darragh O'Connor's trying to do. He's no trying to close him down. He doesn't really block it. He does this weird turn thing. I'm assuming he's trying to make sure it doesn't hit his arm to give away a penalty or something. I don't know, but it's just nobody makes an effort at any point to stop them. Our team could have wandered off the pitch, and Dunfermline wouldn't have actually had it any easier in scoring that goal.
Yes.
Dunfermline had every option. They could have gone down one wing, they could have gone down the other wing, and they could have gone down the centre, and I don't think we would have stopped them.
This is I completely agree with you. It was whenever you said it there, Alan. Sometimes it's a case of you basically concede the flanks because you're right. We're just going to defend the box. We didn't do that either. And
like we did against St Johnson, Lewis Stevenson was leaving the room out there because he was tucking in to get McPeak.
Exactly. And that was very calculated, or felt very calculated. Going right, get someone. It's Liam Smith out there. He's not brilliant. We can kind of let him have the ball. Robbie Fraser's not that guy. And then, to your point there, Carol, about they could have just run through the middle. They did. 5 minutes in, I can't remember his name, the laddie who went off injured, receives the ball in the midfield, turns around, and he's like, "Oh, there's nobody here. There are no Rovers players around." It just didn't seem to make any sense to me at all. And to come back to a question you asked about 10 minutes ago, Blair, I don't understand what it was doing for us either. I definitely don't see what it was doing against them. It wasn't stopping Dunfermline in any means at all. But sometimes that happens and you go, yeah, because to do our thing, we have to give away this other thing. But playing narrow the way we did, as you said, right, we've said already, Josh Mullen had a really, really poor game. Dylan Easton was barely in the game. Because if you're up against a back three or a back five, right, depending on whether or not they're attacking us 20 yards from our byline. If you're playing really wide, right, which we weren't doing, you've got a chance to get in behind. Because if Robbie Fraser does go heading away and you manage to dispossess him, and Josh Mullen's out the touchline, you can play the ball into that space, and then Kieran Ngwenya, who's on the left side of the three, has to stick or twist. He has to do Lewis Stevenson. He has to either decide, right, I'm going to go to Josh Mullen, or I'm going to try and defend my box. And if he tries to go to him, you've got a great chance to go and beat him one-on-one. If he doesn't, Josh Mullen's got a great chance to put the ball in the box. But instead, when you play narrow, what happens is if you get the ball to Josh Mullen, Ngwenya's already there, and then Robbie Fraser can come back. So he's always got two guys up against him. And it's the same with Easton on the other side. Your starting position has two men in it.
Yeah.
You're actively going to a place where they would want you to be.
But see, at the very least,
And
even if you're not getting in behind, so you're absolutely right. Robbie Fraser bursts up the pitch, and if you can dispossess him, you've got the chance of getting in behind. But at the very least, Robbie Fraser's got something to think about. He can't just go bombing on the whole time because he's got something else to think about. But actually, the way that we set up was so narrow that effectively what you said to both their wing backs was, "You're all right. Don't worry about it. Just meander about the place. If the ball comes to you, great. If it doesn't, don't worry, because actually we've got no intention of going wide. We've got no intention of attacking you. We're going to attack your teammates. We're going to just work on." And so actually what he did was completely free up the two wing backs to just, not even to dictate play, to just run with the train of the game. The only thing I can think of is if you put a really arrogant spin on it, is that we thought we were going to boss the game so much in the middle of the pitch that they were going to be forced to change shape, to go narrow, because they were losing that battle through the middle and the game wasn't out wide. But for that to be the case, we have to play through the middle. And that's the bit that annoyed me as well.
Yes.
We didn't even do that. So we set up narrow, and then we didn't do it. We just kept knocking the ball long and hoping for a knockdown, hoping for a second ball, and actually completely missed out the midfield. Anyway, I mean, I'm not being funny. That first half, Paul Niso did not, other than I think he headed the ball clear at two corners, and he got booked. I don't think he did it. I don't think he was anywhere near the game. It completely and utterly passed him by because we just didn't play in a way that suited. It was. That's what I'm saying. It's so annoying because it's like if you looked at the starting 11 at the beginning of the game, names on paper, screams width. Then you look at how they've set up, and it's really narrow. And then you look at how we play, and it's long. And I'm like, well, it's none of them. None of the things actually marry together. And that's the bit where I think Emery has to take a bit of flack. But see, we talked a wee bit about the Josh Mullen performance, and you were saying like he's far from somebody you would think is phoning it in effectively. And I agree completely. But to the point where I actually kind of feel like that with almost all of them. So either we're really naive and there's way more going on in this squad than we realise. I'll be honest, I still don't think is the case. I just don't know if they're shit scared. I honestly don't know if we're just at a point where the squad as a whole are so frightened to make mistakes that they're playing within themselves, and it's like this fear has set in because that gap to the bottom is getting smaller and smaller every week, and we are very much dragged into this dogfight, and I'm not sure we've got the dogs to fight it. Is the issue we have now. So the question is, did Emery really get it that wrong, or are they just not executing the plan that he's, that like I can only presume he had a plan, because the show made no sense.
What I think the plan was, it's what you said there. It's dominating the midfield. It's squeezing the midfield. It's the only one that makes sense. Because they play that kind of 3-4-1-2, really. When you look at the guys they've got in the park, they're basically playing a two-man midfield.
Yeah.
Now, players drop in, and they've got a lot of really versatile players, which really helps with this. It's why it works so well. But in theory, on a Subbuteo table, they've got two midfielders. It's Ahmad and it's Gilmore.
Yeah.
So if you think, right, well, we've got Incio and we've got Matthews, and then we've got Vaughan, who is effectively playing as a midfielder. If you also then squeeze in Mullen and Easton, that's a 5 against 2. But as you say, the crucial weakness there is it relies on passing the ball between those 5 players.
Well, at the very
and it was never
those 5 players.
No, sorry, I said Matthews. Then I meant Dory. You knew what I meant.
I think the thing is, though, is those players are all perfectly capable of doing that. Like, these are all guys who are, with the exception of Enzio, who's obviously a young lad who played his first full season, these guys have all got a lot of experience playing first team football. They're all perfectly capable of doing the jobs we expect them to do at this level. So, Dougie Emery's perfectly entitled to put them out there and with a plan, if there was a plan, and say, go and do it. And these guys should be able to do it. They're not necessarily going to win every game, but they're certainly perfectly capable of putting in a bloody better show than they did at the weekend than they have been for the last few months.
So, this will not surprise anyone. I have a theory, similar to your theory, Blair, about the players are frightened. I wonder if it's not the fact that individually, I don't think anybody's chucking it, right? I just find that hard to believe, really.
Yeah.
And individually, like, or maybe it's just I would want to believe this. I don't feel like there's attitude stuff. I don't feel like I'm seeing guys who are half-arsed. It looks to me like everybody's trying. I just don't think the team's good enough.
Yeah.
And good enough's a big phrase, and it encompasses a lot. And the biggest thing I think is missing is variety more than anything else. But I think my theory, the reason I have this theory is it's an incredibly difficult one to work your way out of. Because you go and you start shouting and bawling at players, and you see you've got to look yourself in the mirror. And it can be the case. Every single player can look themselves in the mirror and say, I'm trying my best. But the quality is just not there. Overall. Like, there aren't enough, again, to use a very exaggerated, a very glib example. You could have the 11 best goalkeepers in the world. You're not going to be a very good football team. Like, it feels like we're so samey. So many of our players have the same strengths and the same weaknesses. And there is so little variety to it. And we're seeing the same thing every week. And it becomes very easy if you're the opposition manager. Because I tell you this, Neil Lennon wasn't surprised on Saturday.
No.
And it's like, they're playing a bit narrower. Well, I prefer that. That's good. But ultimately, he knows what he's getting. He's not, at no point, they were training on a Thursday, whatever it is, Friday, before the game. At no point has he had to go to one of his defenders and say, now listen, you need to be careful. Bear in mind, he will be trying to get behind you there. Because we don't have anybody who can do that.
No.
The entire game, every game we've played since Paul McMullen got injured has taken place in front of the opposition's defence. Because we don't have anybody who plays on the last shoulder or who runs beyond. We do not. Chin would be your other one, but he's only started one game for us. Gibson, conceivably your other, he's now out on loan. And that, again, obviously, that's not a thing that happened by chance. Someone made that decision. Like, teams know how we are going to play. And, sorry, this is, even by my standards, this is a rambling point. But, like, Alan, you just said it. Like, all of these players, other than Paul Incio, who, as you say, is in basically his first season, have a lot of games at this level or above. They're all individually at least fine. But I think the problem is what we've now got is a whole load of guys who are fine and not the right bits in the right places to really just put us over the top anywhere near often enough. And it's just, as I say, I think this is my biggest worry is I think it's incredibly difficult to fix.
Yeah.
Because if it is attitude, you can put somebody through a wall and, threaten to do it again. Or if it's that, you've got too many guys and all fighting for the one position, you can basically just freeze out 3 of them and pick the other one. We've only got, 18 players, 19 players? And they're all kind of the same. standard. They're all kind of doing the same jobs. So how do you change it? That I think is the big problem. Carol, you've been very patient there. Anything you want to add to any of those varying mad rants?
The season's a marathon, and I feel that this season we've just forgotten to lube up the bits that will chafe and forgot to put the plasters on the nipples. And now we're at the stage where things are starting to bleed and hurt. And we've got two choices. We can get to the next aid station, slap on some Vaseline and get to the end of the season, or we can bail out now and give up. And I don't think our players have given up. I don't think our management or our fans have given up. If we don't go on a run before the end of the season, which I know is cliche, and it will help that if we do, but if we are not in a positive place and we do get dragged down into this playoff, I don't know if we've got the positivity or the gumption to believe in ourselves that we can do it. And that's my concern, is that we can't score, and our clean sheet was what was our positivity, and now that's gone. It just feels that we're in a rut that we can't get out of unless somebody does something spectacular. But again, cliche alert, teams know that if you close down Easton in the first 15 minutes, we have nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's too easy for folk to jump into conspiracy nonsense, and players have chucked it. Though I try and avoid pie and bovril and some of the more interesting posters on Twitter. But I've no doubt there'll be someone somewhere trying to claim that these guys have been told already that they're out of contract and they're not getting a new deal and they're not trying. Whereas the obvious counter argument to that is, well, how are they going to get a new deal with someone else if the club's watching them thinking, well, they're half-arsing it. So all of these things are nonsense. These guys are professional footballers.
Yes.
And it's just, there's something not right. And it's kind of, to go back to, there was a decent thread on Twitter the other day, a guy called Hadge, about, it goes right back to that interview with Ian Murray at the start of last season. The last interview he gave as a Rovers manager, where he said there's something not right and I don't know what it is, but we're going to need to figure it out. And it's not a great look for a manager to be saying that, but he was right then, and it's still the case now.
Yeah, I suppose I'm always more inclined to look for football issues.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think it's just a bit easy to blame attitude or that kind of thing. I think it's like a nebulous thing no one else can see. So I think it's an easy. It's like you can go to, nobody can tell. Sorry, trying to start 7 sentences at the same time now. If you say, I think it's the player's attitude, nobody can prove you wrong. Nobody can say, well, I think it isn't, without any more evidence than you had. And I just feel like, basically, my overriding feeling with this is that all footballers broadly have the same attitude.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't really buy. I'm sure players sometimes take the half. I'm sure players sometimes chuck it. We've all seen it in the past. But as like a primary driver, I feel like that's much more of a reactive thing than the cause of something. Like, yeah, once you've not won in 6 games, of course people are in crabbit moods about stuff. But I think if you've got 11 really good players who are all playing really well in a system that really works, their attitudes are always fine.
Yeah.
Like,
I've played 5-a-sides against guys who play amateur football, and they treat a piss about game of 5-a-sides like it's the Champions League final. These guys, and that's amateur footballers, they give everything in every game they play. And I have the higher level you get to, these guys are going to be the same, if not more. They're going to be giving it everything they've got because it's their job. They love, it's a game they love playing. Sometimes, like you say, it just doesn't work for whatever reason, whether it's, square pegs and round holes, or just too many square pegs to fit into all the holes. That it's just,
There's a lot of
and like you kind of mentioned, other teams are seeing the same thing for us every week, so they've got plenty of time to work on the training pitch of how to cancel us out. Like you said about Neil Lennon, Aaron Taylor Sinclair's not been in training this week going, oh, I have no idea what I'm going to see for Rovers on Saturday.
The one thing I was going to say is that the psychology of the whole team sports and thing, like narratives can set in really quickly. And I always laugh at like the Rovers are going up to Inverness or whatever, and you get, they've not won here in 24 years. Some of the squad are 21. Like, it's not even relevant to them. Like, it means absolutely. Yet that narrative can set in, and it can be almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because you set out the whole week going, "Oh, we didn't do well up there, boys, but let's go and give it a good shot." And like, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck, right? And we are shit away from home. There's no getting away from it at the moment. We are shit away from home. But at what point does being shit away from home make you shit away from home?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's now just become this. I mean, Emery's talking about it in his interviews all the time, and I didn't blame him, because he's got to talk about something. But he's giving it, our away form's killing us. And every Rovers fan in that's going to games, our away form's killing us. We can't score goals away from home. We didn't score enough goals. And it's like, there is an element, if we talk about it enough, it kind of fulfills itself. But by the same token, the only people who can change it are the boys that are wearing the jersey on a Saturday out on that pitch. And I think you're right, Duncan. I think it is a really difficult thing to break, because there's almost no one thing that's broken. Like, it's just tangible little things all the way through this squad. But the idea that players have chucked it, I'm sorry, if you honestly think that Dylan Easton's going out there on a Saturday and he's going to let his teammates get him relegated, because he's here next year, whether he likes it or no, he's here next year. Scott Brown's here next year. Paul Hanlon's here next year. Josh Ray's here next year. These boys are under contract. The idea that they're going to go out there and let their teammates chuck it and just not care in a game, I can't buy it. I keep clinging to this. There is something missing. There is something broken, and we don't know what it is. But by the same token, if you think we're going to be shit for long enough, you're going to be right. Like,
it's a vicious circle. And the only, this is going to sound the cliche again, is the only people that can break it are the fans. If we go into the Saturday's game thinking we're terrible, we're getting relegated, we're going to lose, and we're already grumpy before we start, then it's not going to help the situation. And I just don't think that they've chucked it.
I'm not sure.
There's no way.
Carol. In terms of the breaking it, I think it starts on the pitch. It always starts on the pitch. If we go out there and you get a really good first,
it's like chicken or egg. It's like, how do they start it on the pitch if the fans aren't behind them? But then how do you get the fans behind them if they aren't doing it on the pitch?
And this is where I'm going to sound negative, because it's their job.
Well, can I disagree with you, Blair?
Go for it.
I think it starts in the dugout.
Oh yeah,
I think it starts with the like. So you're right. I agree with everything you said. Like, absolutely, that narrative that sets in, and it is that where it's like, we're the shit away from home guys.
Yeah.
And I mean, part of me thinks, well, it's like, it's not really narrative, it's more of a fact. But I know what you mean. It's the narrative almost becomes forward facing.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, undisputably, we have been the shit away from home guys. There's actually nothing that says that has to be the case again. The next time, but that's where that then comes in. But we've not changed anything. So for the fans, Carol, to have a different outlook and to have a different feel, we need to believe that something has changed. And for the players to change it, again, there needs to be a feeling that something has changed. Because if you go, right, we've just played however many games away from home, we haven't scored any goals. So, right, cool. What are we going to do this time? The same stuff. Like, well, that's no. Like, it just feels like. There's the whole thing about just like repeating the same thing and expecting different results. I saw a thing on Twitter a wee while ago that it made me laugh, but it feels apt for this. Is that if you sit down to play someone at chess and they punch you in the face, you're not going to win by getting better at chess. And it's like every week we go away from home and we sit down to play chess and we get punched in the face. And then we go home and we spend the week reading chess manuals. It's like something needs to change. We need to go and buy a set of boxing gloves. Like, even if it's just for the sake of the change. Because getting beat in a different fashion is no worse than getting beat in the same fashion. But it might be different. And that's the thing. Like,
Might be different.
I don't know what we've got to lose, basically, I suppose, is my actual point there.
As well,
like,
getting beat trying something new than just going out to nil
it's just
everyone to
Saturday
death.
have been as painful if we'd got 20 shots on target and lost 3-0. I don't think so.
And this is it. Like,
If there'd been some
Well,
sort of hope there.
Blair, will you stop taking down my points? I'm trying to bring positivity to this.
but this, and actually, to be fair, to counteract my own point, our options to change it are really limited.
But they are
Like,
there.
so we've got two out and out strikers at the moment, and they are the same guy.
Yep.
We've got a whole load of sort of attacking midfielders who are all broadly the same guy, plus Richard Chin. We've got a host of central midfielders. They're the same guy. They all do the same job. So, like, you don't have that ability to kind of flip people in and out in a way that would then automatically mean a change. You know, in the way that if you've got two central midfielders, one is Scott Brown, the other is Sean Byrne. You can make a wholesale change to the way that you play by just swapping one of those guys for the other. Whichever one has started, you put the other one in, your whole game can change. We don't have that at the moment. But this, again, where I don't want this to be a whole thing where I'm like, oh, there's nothing Dougie Emery can do about it. He doesn't have the players. We have just been through a window as well. So, like, there's clearly not a lot of money to go around, right? But
And there's not a lot of options either. I mean, even if we're rolling in money,
this is
there's
true.
not a lot of options. We're not like swimming in a massive pool of fantastic players. We are quite restricted to what we can get.
This is undeniably true. But we brought in 2 players in the window. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I might have forgotten somebody. So we got Andy Winter right at the start of the window. And forgive me if this sounds harsh, but the more that time goes on, the more it would appear to me, my uninformed position, that the primary benefit of Andy Winter was that he was available on the first day of the window. That, with the benefit of hindsight, that looks to me like a signing that was made because everybody was primed to go tonto about the fact we hadn't brought a striker in. And it was like, first day of the window, here we go, signed a forward. Because we all sat on this podcast and went, yeah, signed a forward. And we needed one straight out of the gate. First day the window's open. There's a forward. And then we watched them play for a bit and we were like, I'm not entirely sure what he's giving us that we don't already have, right? That's me being kind. And then we got to the end of the window, we signed Dennis Cameron. Now, Dennis Cameron, I think, should be good-ish enough. Like, in the grand scheme of, you want to exit a window with better players than you entered it with, Dennis Cameron is an upgrade on Josh Jennings. And ultimately, that's probably the game, right? That's your one-for-one upgrade. Is Andy Winter better than Callum Smith?
Yeah.
Sorry, for audio listeners, I shrugged there. Like, maybe no. I think they're much of a muchness. They're generic attacking players. But what neither Innes Cameron or Andy Winter have done has made us any more interesting. You haven't given us new options. We don't have other ways to play. And this is why, for all Paul McMullen has been bemoaned this season, and he's not put up the numbers anybody would like, he was the one guy who gave us something different that we didn't have elsewhere, because he's a runner. And Blair, you mentioned earlier, that Ross County game, where he played that box midfield and the front two. The front two was Jack Hamilton and Paul McMullen. Mm-hmm. And it worked because McMullen was getting at them. McMullen was the one where Neil Lennon would have had to go to his defenders and say, listen, just bear in mind he will try and get behind you. And we just don't have that anymore. Like that. I just find it really, really difficult to kind of want, like, how do you fix that? Like, how do you, when what you've got is a whole load of the same guy, what do you do? How do you kind of change things up to a meaningful degree that it then feels different, that players might believe something different might happen?
I think the key is
and obviously
to play differently. It's not so, like, I know what you're saying, and you're 100% right. The midfielders are all the same guy, but I think crucially they're not all the same age, and they're not all the same ability. And I do feel like we've kind of, see if you just actually line us up against the Pars in terms of the squad. They're young, they're hungry, they'll run through brick walls all day long. They'll just run. They just run and run and run and run. They're quite happy running all day. And I just feel like in a squad that's aging, we have got some younger players. And I've been the first on here to say it. I think I described him as a bit beige at times. But Kai Montague, he's not, do you know what I mean? He's not Sean Byrne, he's not Sam Stanton. But he's also not Ross Matthews, and he's not Scott Brown in terms of the way that he plays. Now, granted, in terms of his abilities, he's probably much of a muchness. I don't think there's a huge shout. In fact, he's probably not quite as able as likes of Scott Brown, I would say. But he runs about, and he's hungry, and he's energetic. And I wonder if we've got to a stage where the change that's needed is actually just change. Just change. Change for change's sake, almost. Because doing the same thing again and again, we keep saying it, but doing the same thing again and again is not working. So, like, go bold. Drop Easton. Take him out. Put in.
I agree. I think Easton needs to get dropped. Not for like badly, just as a surprise to the opposition as a lineup. Drop him.
I mean, he's arguably our best goal threat, but I mean, he's not scored goals.
No, you even look at things like, you know, we've been as a podcast in general, we've not been big fans of a back three, but you put in a back three, and it maybe lets you say to Lewis Stevenson, right, you've not got as much defensive responsibility here. Get forward. You put maybe Jordan Doherty back out to right wing back. You, Jordan, get forward. Get balls in. And it just because you've got that extra defender back there that lets, even if it's one at a time, going forward, you've got a different attacking option. You give yourself that option of, when Darrell O'Connor's shelling his ball long, maybe he's got someone out on the left. He's got Stevenson out on the left wing to kind of go across field to. He's got different. There's just we need to try something different.
Yeah. So I would have gone a 3 for that game there, the game that we're supposed to be talking about. Partly for the sake of change. I also think it would have matched up to Dunfermline. Would have given us a better chance at kind of closing them down. I'm very sorry to any of the Dunfermline fans who tuned in, by the way, hoping to hear us greeting and moaning about that game, and we've just not mentioned it at all. Like,
we've got
probably quite frustrating.
There were 2 other goals.
Yeah. I literally didn't even know them down. It's just like I don't want to have to talk about them. Like,
The defending was shite.
in fact, actually,
Move
tell you
on.
what. Let's very briefly just come back to that game, because then, as I say, there's what I think we should have done for that game, and then we'll talk about Airdrie as well. Where I think it's a slightly different kind of question. The reason I wanted to come back to that game just before we leave it behind, second half, I thought we were better, but critically, what I mean by that is better than we were.
Yeah.
I don't think we were better than Dunfermline were.
No.
And I'm kind of willing to be argued with on this, right? Because my sort of view at the time was maybe that, maybe between half time and the second goal going in, I maybe would have argued that we'd been the better side in that second half. But what I think I'd been sort of tricked by was we had more of the ball, but actually when you watch the highlights, they still looked more dangerous. They still had more chances. They hit the bar in that period that had completely passed me by.
It was offside.
Right, okay.
I've got to say that was my only criticism of the highlights. We're putting in chances where they hit the bar and the boy was offside. Like, we just beating ourselves with a stick at that point.
That also came after a thing where Ross Matthews was booked for a perfectly good tackle.
Yeah.
There was a lot wrong.
So, I don't actually think this was in his Wraith TV interview. I think it might have been a quote in the Courier. But, I wasn't going to go back and dig it back out again. I am fairly sure Dougie Emery described that second half as excellent.
Oh.
Not for me. And again, I think...
Definitely not his Wraith TV. He used the term better.
No.
And I am with you.
And that's what I think he meant.
Yeah.
But,
a punch in the face is better than a kick in the nuts. It's no good.
Like... what I think helped with that was basically I think we've effectively went to a kind of 4-1-4-1 with that, where Incio pushed forward a wee bit, Vaughan came back a wee bit, and it just made a bit more sense. And actually, a lot of that was down to Ennis Cameron actually holding the ball up really quite well.
I thought he was decent.
And it meant he had, 4 players behind him. So that nobody really. I think I thought was our most dangerous player across the whole afternoon, Lewis Stevenson.
Mm-hmm.
Thought if anything's going to happen here, it's going to come from Lewis Stevenson. Like, again, just a damning indictment on the 6 players who are further forward than he is. Like, in terms of that Wraith TV interview, Blair, anything you want to pull out of that? Anything you found particularly noteworthy?
No, not particularly. I think it's. I keep I keep seeing and hearing John Hughes mentioned, which is upsetting, I have to say. I don't think anybody needs to see that or hear that. But I can see why there are shades of it, I have to say, in the interview. I think he's trying to dial it back a bit from that. He's not calling them out as such, but he's kind of making it clear that he's not happy. But at the same time, we bemoan and we ridiculed, or I certainly did towards the end, ridicule Barry Robson for not. And I always like the way you put it, Duncan. It was about, you want your interview with the manager to at least reflect the game that you've just watched. There's nothing that Dougie Emery said in that interview that we weren't talking about in the stand. Do you know what I mean? There was nothing there that didn't stand out. But there wasn't a lot of answers either, which is the bit that's worrying me a little bit. There's a little bit of kicking the can down the road to next week, and we'll go back and we'll try again. And every time he says we'll try and get a result next week, it sounds a little bit more like he hopes we'll get a result next week.
Yeah.
A little bit less like he's convinced we'll get a result next week. But I don't know. I honestly don't know. There was nothing, like I say, I don't think there was anything egregious in it. I don't think there was anything. He did describe us as better in the second half, and he is right. We were better in the second half.
We were better.
But by the same token, Dunfermline went 1-0 up and had won the game.
100%.
at that point.
That's exactly it. I meant to mention that.
They didn't perform particularly great in the second half, but by the same token, they didn't have to. Like, there's literally no need.
That's exactly it.
They're 1-0 up. See the game out. Absolutely fine. Cruising. And then they finish 3-0 up. Like, out of nothing. Yeah. Shite.
The one thing I will say with Emery is he does, he will stand there and say, it's my responsibility. Like, he doesn't, you can tell he maybe wants to be a bit more critical of the players, but he does at least say, it is on me. But then the flip side, what comes with that is it's also on you to fix it, mate. So you also try to do something different, maybe.
You're just trying to remind me, Alan, the one thing I would actually take issue with, he did at one point say, and I'm paraphrasing, but it was wording along the lines of, these are problems that have existed since I arrived at the club. And then he kind of realised what he'd said and made it sound like he was the problem. And his instant reply to that was, oh, and it happened with other managers as well. And there is just the slightest tinge of arse covering coming through. And some of the stuff that he says that makes me feel a wee bit uncomfortable.
So, I'm the same as you, Blair. Any time I watch an interview with the manager now, I'm like, we're absolutely slaughtered by Robson for his interviews.
Yeah.
And I stand by that, to be fair. I do stand by that. But sort of by the same token, there is no interview that a Wraith Rovers manager can give after a 3-0 defeat at East End Park where we all go, it's fine then.
Yeah.
Like, actually, can someone see now that you've explained it to me? Fine.
Yeah.
Fair play. Well done, actually.
Feel
Congratulations.
fantastic.
Like,
I'm going to crack open the cava and have a great Saturday evening.
Exactly.
What do you do?
Wait till you hear this podcast. So, yes, it's a little bit of a kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Totally.
And I agree with your point about he's not coming out and telling you lies. He's not coming out and saying, like, but what about all the chances we had when we did not have any chances? Like, he does reflect the game that has taken place, and that should be the bare minimum, really. But yeah, I think I've got the point here. He said, I've inherited the group and I'm trying to get the best out of them, and at the moment I'm not getting that. And then, as you say, he then sort of couches it by saying, like, whether that's been with other managers and me, and he kind of sort of like
covers his arse,
wanders away from that statement that he's made. Alan, is that a fair statement to make, though? I mean, you mentioned about the thing that Hadge put up, which is just that clip of Ian Murray saying, listen, someone's not right here. Dougie Emery's saying broadly the same things. And what players are still here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fair point to make, but it comes down to a subject we have criticised the club for numerous times in this podcast, and that is recruitment. We can all see there are kind of tools missing in that in our kit, if you like, as a team, and that hasn't been fixed. Now, as we've already kind of alluded to, it's not as simple as, it's not like there probably is actually a catalogue of players, but it's not as easy as, you want to pick a mobile phone, you pick the exact one you want. What we need isn't necessarily available, and if it is, it's not necessarily in our price range. So it's difficult, but it doesn't. So I do have sympathy with, with Dougie Emery and to an extent some of the other managers. But the longer it goes on and the issues aren't being fixed, you think, is it on the players? I don't know. You start looking at the players who've been here through that whole time. But again, it comes down to at no point are you looking thinking, oh, well, Dylan Easton's not trying. Paul Hanlon's phoning it in. These are the guys that have been here through all that. I don't think there's anything at all to suggest that. So it does. I mean, it does come down to, I think, player recruitment has been a bit of an issue for us, but that's probably the same for every other club. And how do you fix it? I don't know.
one other thing in that interview that I noted down here, which is that when he's kind of bemoaning the dressing room, really. I mean, he is. There's no getting away from it. And I think it's actually possibly Davey who introduces the point, but he says about, players who are playing for contracts, and if you want to stay at this level, it doesn't have to be with us, but if you want to stay at this level, you've got to perform at this level. And it's during that overall kind of conversation, Dougie at one point says, I'd like to say a lot more, but I can't. That my eyebrows were raised at that point. That's when I was like, oh, I don't love that. That doesn't sound great.
He said something about players who think they should be at a higher level or something. That kind of initial part.
That's and again, and I see we did this to Barry Robson without caveating it at all. But he's given an interview. Sometimes you'll say some things and you're in a different train of thought and you say something else. But he says, I'll protect these players. And then 5 minutes later, he's saying, some of them think they're better than they are. And I suppose he's not naming them, but it's.
I do.
You can't win with that. But
I was going to say, there's also there's the heat of the moment thing. So he's obviously just lost 3-0 in a derby. We've just conceded twice in the last 5 minutes. He's then just gone into the changing room and had to face them, and has probably told them all exactly what he thinks of them and exactly what he thinks of their performance and all the rest of it. And then he's got to come outside and he's got to calm himself down and do the interview. And the way I always look at it is, as I'm walking out the stadium, I'll be going, he's pish. He should never play for us ever again. I'm sick fed up of him. What's with him and his stupid shin guards? And do you know what I mean? You go on a rant, right? And then we get Sunday to calm down sometimes, and then you do the podcast on a Sunday night. Now we're on Tuesday. we're still pissed off, but Dougie Imrie's also human. Do you know what I mean? He's finished that game, and he'll be thinking the same things as every one of us. When Jack Hamilton misses a chance, he will say the phrase to one of his coaches, I'm sure at some point, "Oh my God, he's pish." And you'll not mean it. It's just something you say. Do you know what I mean? It's human nature. There
must be an element as well that Davy Hancock's such a good guy that for Dougie Imrie, sometimes he probably forgets that he's in an interview and no chatting to his mate.
I also
not that I'm wanting to encourage him to get rid of Davy or anything, because he is brilliant.
That's the other thing though. At the very beginning of the interview, Davy does say something about having had a really frank conversation, and I think that's also one of Dougie Imrie's real strengths. Is I can fully imagine the fact that he's come over for the interview and Davy Hancock said to him, Christ, what was that all about? And he's launched into a tirade again, and he should never play for this club again, and if I've got my way, he'll be washing bits on Monday morning, and he'll have had that whole rant, and then he's got to go, we weren't very good in the first half. I don't know, there's always that side of it, with especially with him. That's something that was evidently missing under Barry Robson, because Robson just didn't have that side to him at all. So there's probably an element of taking a pinch of salt with some of the stuff he says.
Yeah. Right, listen, we've been going a really long time. I don't want to necessarily keep us here till 2:00 in the morning, but a couple of questions on the game still to come. It saves us having to do this again tomorrow, basically. So we do play Airdrie on Saturday. Carol, this is the most obvious question anyone on the podcast has ever asked another person. Is this a must-win game?
Of course. I'm gonna mean it's a must-score a goal game. Okay, must win, essential, and to win you need to score a goal. So I'm going to skip past the win part and just go, we need to score a goal. Preferably early on. I would quite like it in the first 20 minutes and then take it from there. But we can't win unless we score, and so it's a must-score game.
So we talked a lot about change. What can change? What should change? Change for change's sake. And originally, I'm not walking this back in its entirety, but as I say, I definitely would have played a back three on Saturday there. I'm still relatively inclined to play a back three here. But I wonder if, as we've been talking, this thought has been, kind of formulating in my head, right? If this narrative, this identity of we are shite away from home, we are the shite when we're away team.
We're the good at him team, though.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Ken, what the shite away team are? Shite at home. The shite away team, actually quite good at home. That's where they got all the points. Like, is it almost a case of at this stage, given we have 4 home games in the bounce, do you just now effectively buy into that? And you just go, Ken, someone, we are shite away from home. We've just come through a really tough period of really difficult away games. That was always going to be difficult for us. We're the shite away from home guys. But now, we're at home again. We can forget all of that. That's now in the past. Now we've got home games. Home games are different. We're good at home games. Now you can tell I don't believe this. But maybe the players would. Like, maybe it is that. You know,
Suck
sometimes...
it up, Buttercup. Put on your big boy pants and get behind them.
Well, I tell you the good example, Queen's Park. Like, they went to Ibrox to get 8-0.
Mm.
And they didn't come back after it and go, oh, no, we are so bad at this. Instead, they went, right, forget it. It's done. It's gone. We're not doing a video analysis. We're none of that at all. Forget it. We're no the go to Ibrox and win team. I know we did that last season. We're not anymore. Forget it. Let's focus on league games. I wonder whether it's just that. Whether it's just like, right, all those away games, they're gone. Home games now. That's different. We don't need to worry about all these problems that we had. We've scored 6 goals in a home game this season. We've scored 4 goals in another home game this season. That's us. We're that team at home. Whether that's enough to go and kind of make enough of a change, enough of a mindset change, it's difficult because it's we haven't been at home, too much at all. But even very, very recently, took a point off St Johnstone, league leaders. Like, is that enough, Blair? Is it just being away? Is that the problem? Being at home away? Are we going to be fine again? Is it going to be fine? Blair, tell me it's going to be fine.
Everyone's going to be fine, mate. I mean, the truth is, it's not the problem, and I think that's a bit as much as we've got at the moment. Is that it's something. So I suppose what it all comes down to is the fact that when we boil it down, the absolute truth is we've not got an absolute Scooby what's going on. We've no idea what the problem is. We sit here and that's the whole point of a podcast, right? We get together and we chat shit and we hypothesize and all the rest of it. But one of the hypotheses is that they are shit scared and they don't like playing away from home because we keep telling them they're really shit away from home. So if that is the problem, it's not the problem on Saturday. But my problem with Saturday is Saturday's not just must win. Saturday is like the definition of the cliched 6-pointer. It is massive. It is absolutely massive. And massive games either maketh the man or they make them shit scared. And that's my big worry, is if they pull it together and they go into Saturday with a real kind of drive and determination, then there's no reason that they can't win the game. But it's Airdrie at home. and yeah, there's problems everywhere. It's like I'm reminded of that the Robin Williams sketch about playing golf. It's like all we have to do is get the ball in the hole, but we're going to put the hole 600 yards away, and we're going to put sand traps and trees in the way. And it's like championship survival is just right there, but there's a shitload of sand traps in the way. There's plenty of ways that we can absolutely fall on our face. But the absolute truth of it is, and I've said this all along, if we come out of the next 10 days, 12 days in a massive relegation fight, we deserve to be in one. Because in that period of time, we have the home games, we have games against the teams around us in that relegation fight. We have no excuses anymore. They either step up and they put their kind of money where their mouth is, or we're in bother. And we're in a world of bother at that point. But I do think at this point, the one kind of saving grace for Emery is, I don't think anybody's a must start. No, I don't think any single one of them is banging on the manager's door on Friday and going, Gaffer, why is my name not on that team sheet? He can do anything he wants at this point. He can put any player anywhere he wants at this point, because none of them have got a grumble. But we'll get exactly the same team.
Yeah, playing the same way. Yeah, that. I barely believed it when I was saying it. That something else needs to change. Like I said right at the very beginning, if anybody can remember that far back, I'm always more inclined to look for football reasons than attitude and all that kind of stuff. And like, I just come back to, you can have all the attitude you want, but if we're actually passing the ball through the midfield and getting it to the strikers, it'll probably be fine. And we're not doing that.
Yeah.
And I feel like everybody's attitude can be brilliant. And if we're still not doing that, it's still going to go really badly. So, yeah, something needs to change. I'd like to see Callum Fordyce back in.
Same.
Again, not because I think he's twice the player Darragh O'Connor is. I actually think Darragh O'Connor's been slightly scapegoated a little bit in terms of it's like, I said it earlier. So, Darragh O'Connor's always launching it long. It's like, kind of because, like, somebody has to.
Yeah.
It's not like everybody else is playing brilliant passes and Darragh O'Connor's launching it long. It's like, no, the options run out and Darragh's the one. It's like musical chairs or pass the parcel.
Or musical statues.
Exactly. Point is, the music stops, Darragh O'Connor's the one with the ball, and he kicks it away.
Yeah.
Like, like, I just think Callum Fordyce, as I say, it would be change as much as anything. And again, it lets people feel something is different.
Yeah.
And if it feels like something is different, you can let yourself believe that the outcome might be different. So, yes, I'd like to see something. As I say, for me, I probably would go to the back three on balance. Put Callum Fordyce in. Probably Jordan Doherty over J. Rowe on the right and kind of wing back. Bring Ross Matthews back in. And play Lewis Vaughan further forward. Play him in the front too. I still think he's our biggest goal threat at effectively all times.
Yep.
Probably tied with Easton. So it does mean Easton plays centrally. I think he's better on the left, but ultimately, as I say, things need to change. Something else needs to happen.
I say I'd go 4-4-2 pretty much, and try and get a bit of width. I do think with Airdrie that's our one kind of chance is I'd love to see Ennis Cameron going toe to toe for aerial kind of duels, if you like, with McGinty. I just think it's got fun written all over it.
Just get Vaughan close enough to him to pick up on
completely.
What
And
brings
actually,
down. Yeah.
I would stick with Mullen purely from the point of view that I'd have him out wide. I'll would just push everybody wide. And personally, I'd stick to the back four because I don't want to jump back on the J. Rowe thing, but I thought he was awful on Saturday as well. He wasn't alone in that, but I thought he was really poor on Saturday. And I think Doherty at right back makes sense. It just works. I also have Fordyce in over O'Connor. And I would probably keep Easton out wide left. But I'd go Matthews and Incio in the middle as a two. Just because I think we need some legs in there. That's actually where I think the game will be won and lost, is in the middle of the park. They've got Telfer and Mockery and it's all that kind of busy wee midfielders in that middle of the park. I think that's where the game will get won and lost. But I think we actually need to, oh my God, I feel sick. We need to learn something from Dunfermline. And actually, it's exactly what you said. When you've got a wide man, there's an out ball. There's an option that's not shelling it long. It's progressing the ball. It's putting it wide and moving play forward. But yeah, we need to get some balls in. Balls into Cameron. Vaughan buzzing around them. Just didn't lose. Please don't lose.
Yeah. Just to go back to the kind of wider league for a second, and then we'll try and actually wrap up. You said a minute ago, Blair, that if in 10 days' time, certainly if by the end of the season, we're in the bottom two, we deserve it.
Yeah.
Right? There's no denying that. That is true of anyone. Whoever finishes in the bottom two deserves it, because they'll have been dreadful.
Yep.
And I tell you this, the two sides that finish above them have also been dreadful
Yep.
for large parts of this season. At least two sides are going to stay up clear, having been really poor
Yep.
for a really long time, or in large spells, effectively.
Sounds awesome.
And this is the thing. It's not the path you would choose. It's not where I'd like to draw my optimism from. But we, as a global, Rovers fan base, the mood now is very much we're going to finish in the bottom two. I don't think that's unfair. That seems to be at least reflective of a significant amount of the fan base.
And rightly.
That is also true of Airdrie's fan base,
Morton.
and Morton's fan base, and Ross County's fan base, and actually quite increasingly numbers of Ayr United's fan base as well, but let's leave them for now. All four of those fan bases cannot be right. Two of them are going to be dead wrong and are going to stay up clear. Like, it's not going to take an awful lot. Like, this is the thing. Like, I mean, not literally by any means at all, but beating Airdrie on Saturday would put us halfway there. It would be such a huge step towards staying up. Like, it's not... Yes, you look at the league and you go, oh, it's really tight. And it is, in terms of number of points. But there's also a lot of teams. Like 4 or 5 teams in the mix only need to stay ahead of 2 of them. Like, if we beat Airdrie on Saturday, are Airdrie going to finish above us? You'd think it would be unlikely. It's just one of these every weekend between now and the end of the season. I said this a few weeks back. It's really a case of, can you stay ahead of? Can you better the results of at least 2 of the other teams? The easiest way to do that Saturday is to beat Airdrie. And it's just... See, right now, honestly, cards on the table, I think we'll still stay up. I really do. I think we'll actually be broadly fine. Because my faith in Greenock Morton and Airdrie being terrible is greater than my sort of concern about Raith Rovers being terrible right now. That could change pretty quickly. But you have to go and do it for yourself. That is the one thing. Like, the team that goes down is going to be the team that doesn't take its chances.
Yeah.
And that is a pretty concerning thing, given what we've seen for this Rovers side recently. Allan, anything you want to add there on this game or on the kind of relegation piece?
I agree with everything you've just said, actually, and kind of adding into your talk of teams whose fans think they're pish and are going to finish bottom 2. Up until about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I bet you most Queen's Park fans thought they were in there as well. Especially after the trip to Ibrox and losing Josh Fowler and what have you. They were, they've been pish for most of the season, even when they had Josh Fowler. And just putting a couple, getting that first win and getting a lift from that is kind of really helped them. In terms of, if you were to ask me now whether I think we're going to stay up or go, I really don't know. I agree with you that I am confident that of the other teams being pish, but there's far too much evidence that we're also terrible to give me real confidence. What I would say is, ask me again at 5 o'clock on Saturday, and I think I'll know my answer a lot more clearly then. Because if we win, I'll be pretty damn confident we're staying up. If we lose, damn, I suppose the flip side of that is if we draw, then I'll probably still be in the same position of not really being sure. At the moment, I feel like we've got enough, but not in a we're too good to go down kind of situation, because I think there's a vast amount of evidence from this season that shows we're absolutely not too good to go down. At the moment, I'm probably leaning towards I think we'll be okay, but it's not going to. Let's put it this way: if I still had here, I'd probably be losing it with the stress this team are causing at the moment. My beard is getting greyer and greyer as I go through the season, actually.
Right, let's try and bring this to a close. Carol, you first of all, you can add anything you like at all, of course, on Airdrie and the relegation battle, but also you wanted to keep us up to date on Rovers Down South upcoming event.
Yeah, this Friday, in association with the 200 Club and the Ex-Players Association, there is a Rover Mind quiz at the 200 Club, which is at the Bowling Club in Kirkcaldy. The doors are at 6:45. Kickoff is 7 p.m. It's teams of 5. I think there's one table left, possibly. If you contacted Rovers Down South through their Facebook page, you will get more information. And there'll be a bar, raffle prizes, former players, a pie at halftime, and the quiz.
Are you prepared? Are you allowed to reveal who the quizmaster is?
I know that Les has contributed some questions, if that makes people look more or less keen.
That was what I was getting at there.
And this is all to raise funds for the Community Belong scheme at the Community Foundation, which provides tickets for kids to go to the game, and also for funding for the International Women's Day events. So yeah, it's a good cause.
Excellent. Good stuff. And Alan, you've got some good news for us as well. The 50-50 for Saturday.
Yeah, so the guest on Saturday, I believe, is going to be Jimmy Nicholl. So it'll be good to see the great man back at Starks Park, having to deal with some John Greer patter, but I'm sure he's experienced plenty of that in the past. So yeah, so it's not been enough to put him off coming. So.
Excellent. I'm not sure that would be what would put him off coming, but anyway, no, I keep forgetting. We're good at home. That's the line.
Yes.
That's what we're going with. Right, excellent. Thank you.
Think positive. Saturday's a whole new game.
We are not
and it could be the start of our season.
Yeah, that, yeah.
We'll be coming in here on Sunday going, what was everyone worried about, man? We've just beat Airdrie 5-0. What's wrong with you all?
Oh, Danny, I can't cope. Right, even by our standards, that was a really loose episode, but I enjoyed it. Hopefully, anybody who's clung on long enough to listen to it all has enjoyed it as well. Thank you, as always, for listening. Thank you, guys, for joining me as well. We will be back, I would guess, Sunday, to find out how Alan feels after our 5-0 win over Airdrie.
We'll come bouncing in with full of positivity and the joys of spring.
Something like that.
I'll have what she's on.
I'm not sure I feel any better
sunshine
than I did
and
when we
lollipops.
started. If I'm honest with you, I think I'm in exactly the same frame of mind as I was. Anyway, the worrying thing is I feel like I could probably do another hour and a half. But we won't. Don't worry about that. As I say, thank you for listening. We'll speak to you again soon. Goodbye.